progress.
All right, welcome to the Legislative Agenda 2025 for the Women's Rights and Empowerment Network. My name is Ashley Lidow. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer, and I can't wait to tell you about all the work that we're going to do in 2025. So I just want to go over what we're going to be discussing today so that everybody has a clear understanding about what we're going to be doing, and you can ask clear questions related to that. So first, we're going to make sure that everybody's clear on WREN's mission and our legislative goals for 2025. I'm going to make a connection between economic justice and reproductive freedom so everybody understands why we do the work that we do. I'm going to go over our economic justice priorities for this session. Then I'm going to go over our reproductive freedom priorities for this session. And then throughout the webinar and at the very end, I'm going to make sure that I clearly communicate how you can support our efforts. So who is WREN? We were founded in 2016. I'm actually one of the original staff members for WREN, and we are South Carolina's leading gender justice advocacy organization, aiming to build an inclusive movement for gender justice through statewide mobilization and major policy reforms. We fight for reproductive freedom and economic justice, and we've achieved victories such as paid family leave, protecting pregnant workers, and ensuring the humane treatment for pregnant incarcerated people, just to name a few of our lovely wins. And you can actually visit our website to see our impact timeline, to see all of the things we've done since 2016. And I'm excited as we talk through this webinar to talk about all the things that we are going to continue to achieve through 25 and beyond. So who am I? Again, my name is Ashley Lidow, and excuse me, I have a cold, so you're going to hear me have a little tickle, but that's okay. I'm a Chief Strategy Officer. I use she, her pronouns, and I have built my career by working on policies that impact both reproductive health and economics, and I have a master's degree in public health. So I have worked on building effective coalitions, advocacy campaigns, and produce research related to both of those policies. I also serve as an advisor at the local, state, and federal levels in relation to both economic justice and reproductive freedom. So luckily, I have a large community of folks that help me understand what I need to do with y'all to make a better South Carolina. So WREN's mission and action for 2025. WREN actually recently updated our mission so that we were very clear on what we are doing in our community, and so everybody understands what that is. So we advocate, educate, research, and convene community in service to women and girls for a more equitable South Carolina. Our 2025 priorities focus on two critical pillars: economic justice and reproductive freedom. So before I get into any legislative priorities, like I mentioned, I really want to go over how economic justice and reproductive freedom are connected, because we've made those our two key pillars, and we did it intentionally because they actually work one and the same. Economic justice and reproductive freedom are closely linked. Without financial stability, women may not be able to make decisions about their reproductive health. And without access to reproductive health care, economic independence becomes harder to achieve. Our goal is to empower women and girls to shape their lives free from financial and reproductive barriers. All right, so what is economic justice? What does it mean to WREN to have economic justice? Economic justice means everyone should have a fair chance to earn money, have a job, and live a good life. Our economic justice efforts aim to meet the fundamental needs of women and girls. We support initiatives that improve maternal health outcomes, expand access to health care, and provide essentials like diapers. So what are our priorities in 2025? Childcare, paid family leave, and workplace non-discrimination. And in the next couple slides, I'm going to be going over each of those priorities and specific bills that have already been introduced with our partners at the State House, so you can take action. Economic justice issue number one, childcare. This is a crisis here in South Carolina. High quality, affordable childcare is vital for women to fully participate in the workforce. We're going to advocate for policies that make childcare more accessible, reducing a major barrier to economic stability for women. So childcare bills we're advocating for: The first bill that I want to make you aware of is a bill that we introduced with Senator Tom Davis. It's Senate Bill 47, and this bill has two parts. It provides tax credits to businesses, which is the first part, and it incentivizes those businesses to do two things. One is for larger organizations to be able to have a tax credit and build their own childcare centers for their workforce. So paying into actually infrastructure for childcare. And the second part of what we're doing for businesses and their tax credits is allowing them to have a tax credit if they give stipends to their workforce to be able to pay for childcare, up to $12,000. So this would be a huge benefit for their workers to be able to have the actual payment come as a benefit through their employers. The second part of this bill is showing the childcare workforce that this state really is absolutely understanding and grateful for the work that they do. The childcare workforce is actually one of the most underpaid workforce in our state. And so the second tax credit would be a refundable tax credit to childcare providers and workers so that they would be able to get a tax credit at the end of the year based on a sliding scale and be able to supplement their income because it is refundable. So it doesn't go against their tax liability. So again, this is the first bill that we have, and you can go onto WREN's website, onto the Take Action Center. And if you take action on our childcare petition, as this bill starts to move, or we need advocacy around it, we'll specifically send emails and text messages about childcare to you because you've signed that petition, and you'll be able to take really easy direct action. Because the other thing that we want to do here at WREN is make it very accessible for everyone to advocate for the things that they care about. So Katie is going to put take action links as we talk through this, and you'll see it in our chat right now. I also want to make note that I didn't put it on this slide, but we will be deeply advocating for the DSS budget line items that support childcare in our state. The Department of Social Services is who actually fundamentally regulates all the childcare functions in our state. And so they need to be fully funded. So not only can they do the programs in the state, but also so we can get the federal matches related to childcare in our state. So as the budget starts to move throughout the session, anybody who's also signed up for our childcare petition will also get updates about those budget line items. So you can ask the legislature to fully fund childcare initiatives. Economic justice issue number 2 for WREN, paid family leave. This is something that we're building upon. We've had previous success in gaining paid parental leave for state employees, as well as the education workforce. And in that success, we were able to get the legislature to unanimously approve the fact that we needed 6 weeks of paid time off for a primary caregiver and 2 weeks for a secondary caregiver. Women should be able to take time off to care for themselves or loved ones without jeopardizing their financial security. So we're going to continue to push for comprehensive paid family leave policies, and we're doing so with these bills. So these bills that you see on your screen, that you'll see 3, are actually what I consider to be sister bills, meaning they all have the same function, but they are in separate chambers. And I'm just going to talk through what that means. So House Bill 3645 is the comprehensive paid family leave bill, and it does the 2 things that the 2 Senate bills below does in one bill. So it increases the leave that folks already have from 6 to 12 weeks for all state employees, and it also ensures that it expands the definition of eligible state employee to allow all state employees to have access to the benefit. We found in the implementation of the previous policy, when it became law, that some state employees were being exempt out of the policy. So we need to ensure that all folks have access to leave, and we need to make sure that that leave is increased, because with every week of paid leave that's available, all of the benefits increase as well. So we're going to be advocating for House Bill 3645 and Senate Bill 10 and Senate Bill 11. We split up the Senate bills just so that we can see if splitting up the bills actually makes one of the policies move faster or slower. So this is a little bit of that advocacy strategy that I want to share with y'all about what we try to do at WREN. And this strategy specifically of splitting a bill up is to see if there's more legislative desire to do one part of a policy or not. So this is why you see in the Senate, we have two bills, one specifically for increasing the 6 to 12 weeks and one that will just impact the error that occurred with the first legislation. So no matter what, if you see any of these three bills moving, we want you to take action. And also we have petitions on our website so that you will get information on any paid family leave bills that are moving through the legislature as we move forward. Economic justice issue number 3 is workplace discrimination. And this is a huge category. So I'm going to go ahead and just acknowledge this here. Everyone deserves to work in an environment free from discrimination. WREN will advocate for stronger workplace protections to ensure women, especially those from marginalized communities, are treated fairly, paid equitably, and protected from harassment and bias. So there is a lot of work that we could do here. And so the next slide is just the beginning of the bills that we are going to work on this session. There are 2 Uniform Non-Discrimination Acts that we are working on this session. They are listed here, 3160 and 3341. But again, they both are like sister bills. They have the same fundamental tenets within them. They would ensure that our non-discrimination statute that South Carolina already has includes gender identity or sexual orientation, and make sure that this non-discrimination doesn't just happen in employment situations, but also housing and educational facilities. The other component of these bills includes discrimination against facial features, hair textures, hair types, and hairstyles associated with race. Some folks on the call may be familiar with the National Crown Act, which is the original policy that addressed discrimination against the hair textures, hair types, hairstyles with race. And that's what the bills functionally have within them. We're also working to look to introduce the Crown Act as a separate statute to potentially see if that gains more traction rather than the writ large bills, but those have not been crafted just yet. So stay tuned for those. But fundamentally, we do not currently have protections for those folks in the workplace related to gender identity, sexual orientation, or for any sort of hair styles, textures, facial features, or anything that is associated with race in that manner. So it's very important for us to tackle those issues in this upcoming session. So that was already a lot, but WREN likes to do a lot at once because we have so many partners. We can do that. So those are the things that we are leading this session with our partners. And we are also going to support in our partners' efforts to do other components of work that they're going to do. So anything that aims to meet the fundamental need of women and girls, we are going to support our partners in that. These include things like free school meals to all students in South Carolina. This includes making sure there are essentials like diapers available and things like expanding access to healthcare, like Medicaid expansion. So I want to make sure that everybody's clear. I presented bills in our economic justice category that are WREN led and that we have specific advocacy pipelines for on our website. And also, if you're with us, we are going to send out action alerts to support our partner bills so that you can take action on other issues that impact economic justice, because we don't do this work alone and we want to be able to support our community in as many ways as possible. So now I'm going to move into reproductive freedom. What does reproductive freedom mean to WREN? Reproductive freedom is more than the right to choose. It's about ensuring people have access to the full range of healthcare services they need to make informed decisions about their bodies and their futures. So what are our priorities for 2025 for reproductive freedom? Well, like every year that WREN has been in existence, defending abortion access is at the top. Then we'll be protecting access to IVF. And finally, we want to improve access to lactation services. So issue number 1, defending abortion access. Access to safe legal abortion is essential for people to make their own decisions about their reproductive lives. WREN will continue to fight against restrictions on abortion access to ensure all people can make choices about their bodies, regardless of income, location, or background. And I will remind folks that South Carolina does have an abortion law in place that limits the availability of abortion but abortion is not totally banned in South Carolina at this time. You can still access abortion. And if you think that you are pregnant, please contact a healthcare provider as soon as you can so that you can get an appointment. WREN also has abortion access resources available on our website. So if you or somebody you know needs some information, we have that readily available to you. So bills that have already come up that we will definitely be fighting against are listed on the screen. The first is House Bill 3457. This is a total abortion ban. We do not support this bill in any way, shape, or form. It has no exceptions within the law. And I will remind everybody on this call, even when an abortion ban has exceptions within it, exceptions do not work, because without anybody to provide the abortions, then there is no abortion availability. And with a felony penalty in any sort of abortion law, most folks do not want to take the risk of becoming an abortion provider. But again, I want to just say writ large, WREN opposes all abortion bans. So again, this total abortion ban is something we've seen before. It actually looks very similar to the abortion ban that we saw in the summer of 2022 when we had the Dobbs decision and Roe fell. And John McCravey was the sponsor of that bill as well in 22. And WREN and our coalition partners were able to defeat that total ban in that special session. So we know what it takes to defeat a total ban. And what it does take is all of us working together. So I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy, because our legislative makeup is different in 2025. But I will say that if we all band together, we can and should defeat this legislation. The other bill I want to mention is House Bill 3537. This is the most extreme abortion bill in the country. This explicitly will provide the death penalty for anyone who has an abortion. It is directly linked to the homicide code, and I will mention that South Carolina has the death penalty for homicide. So we call this the death penalty bill. It is said at the legislature that it will not get a hearing, and yet last session it was listed on an agenda, because I want to make sure that everyone's very clear about the legislative rules. In the House of Representatives, you are able, as a sponsor, to send a letter to a committee chair to request that your bill go on an agenda. And that committee chair is supposed to allow you to have a hearing. So though many may say it's a long shot for something like this to go through, I have seen many a pigs fly at the South Carolina legislature, as you would say. And I have seen this bill previously get on a House Judiciary Committee agenda. So it is very important for all of us to get ahead of the curve and say that we do not want this bill to even have a hearing at our legislature, and to confirm that and put our people on record saying that they would not support any sort of penalty for people who seek abortions. So with that, again, I will say we have a petition on our website that you can go ahead and take action. And as the legislature starts to move, starting on January 14th, we'll have individualized actions specifically for abortion access, so that you can have that email or text message available to you with actions directly related to what is needed at that moment. So next, our reproductive freedom issue number 2, protecting access to IVF. In vitro fertilization offers hope to many people who want to start families, and WREN will work to ensure that IVF remains accessible to all who need or want it. So when I'm talking about protecting access to IVF, I'm going to show you proactive legislation, but I would be remiss to not mention that protecting IVF and defending against abortion restrictions are actually also one and the same. The way that total abortion bans are written is that life begins at conception, when sperm meets the egg. This is prior to when a pregnancy occurs. This is also the best way for an assisted reproductive technology to preserve the products of conception for access to IVF. So all of the in vitro fertilization specialists in this state and across the country have testified many times to our legislature and provided us with many resources to say that if we put into statute that life begins at conception and that abortion is not allowed at conception, that IVF practices would then be considered abortion and would be outlawed in this state. Some people may be familiar with what happened in Alabama in 2024, where they have a total abortion ban and IVF practices were then outlawed. They had to have an emergency special session to have policy put in place to try to quote unquote remedy that situation, and yet it still could not. You cannot have appropriate assistive reproductive technology without ensuring that there is not statute defining life beginning at conception. So with that, I'm going to go to our next slide, which is how we're going to protect access to IVF. Again, these are 3 bills that are all the same terminology that we are supporting. And these would distinctly ensure that fertilized human eggs or human embryos that exist outside the uterus are not considered an unborn child or any similar term. And it ensures that this doesn't just apply to the abortion statute, but throughout all of our legal statute, to try to really ensure that South Carolina is able to have family building capabilities and have access to IVF. So again, if you take our petition on our website, you're able to go ahead and get actions emailed or text to you. And I really encourage you to take, if you love all of our things on our agenda, for you to take all of the actions, the petitions on our website. But we do this so that you can specifically, if you're really just in love with something specific, or say you have a friend that went through IVF and wants to advocate specifically on that, that they get specific content. So again, these are sister bills, and you'd be getting content throughout session as they move, or as we're potentially looking for support through the advocacy process. And finally, our reproductive freedom issue number 3 is improving access to lactation services. This is building on the success that we have with the Pregnancy Accommodations Act and the Lactation Support Act that WREN has worked with legislative champions in the past. So with pregnancy accommodations, we were able to get reasonable accommodations for workers, including to lactation. And then with the Lactation Support Act, we were able to get the right to break time to express breast milk in the workplace. And now we're going to make sure that new parents have affordable and timely access to lactation support as well. So what does that mean? It means insurance coverage for lactation services and doula services. This is another bill we worked on with the South Carolina Breastfeeding Coalition and Senator Tom Davis. And it mandates that health plans must provide coverage for doulas and lactation services. This is making sure that those folks who previously would not be able to access private lactation consultants are able to access those services so they can navigate their breastfeeding journey in whichever way that is supportive to them. And it is so critical to ensuring not only people can go back to work like our previous policies and express breast milk, but have the folks just that are on their team able to support them and guide them through that process. So again, I'll say it, like I said, in the economic justice area, we will lead in the 3 priority areas for reproductive freedom, but we also believe that true reproductive freedom requires access to affordable and available healthcare. So we are also committed to expanding access to contraception and sex education and maternal care, because we have amazing partners across the state that are leading in these areas. And so as they're doing work, we're going to make sure to share their actions and share information about the bills they are working on. And if we do any testimony or have any sort of advocacy needs to help support our partners, we're going to get that out to you as well. Again, we can't do this work without all of y'all, and we're so grateful that we are able to do it with you. So before I go to any questions, I'm going to go ahead and say, again, most people ask me, hey, Ashley, I love all your information, but that was a lot in a slide deck that I'm listening to at noon in the middle of my day. So you can see all of these priorities on our website at scwren.org/priorities. You can also go to our Take Action page at any time and see our latest actions related to any of our priorities. If you're signed up for our newsletters, you're going to get weekly updates from the State House from us. And also, we have an amazing new community engagement coordinator, and her name is Aisha Jones. And so if you want to have any of these advocacy smaller events and talk about these issues in person in your local community, I encourage you to reach out to Aisha so we can schedule a time for her to either do a Zoom meeting with you and your friends and your local groups, or for her to travel to you so that you guys can sit down and really talk through these issues and how they're impacting your community. Because the best way to advocate is through storytelling, and y'all have all the stories that we need in our community to make this action happen. So with any of that, I'll go ahead and open it up to questions about our legislative agenda. And I see the question from Sharon. And yes, we do. Senate Bill 27 should be the bill that, if I'm going off the top of my head, which if you hear my head cold, could be hit or miss, is the comprehensive reproductive freedom, and we support it fully. I have another question in the chat about providing training on how to effectively advocate. Yes, WREN does provide trainings on how to effectively advocate. We have those trainings that we could come to you. We could also provide those trainings via Zoom. And we have resources where we already pre-wrote out some of those advocacy resources on our advocacy resource page. Included on that page is tutorials like how to even get to the State House, how to effectively write testimony. And I will say that we have a YouTube channel. And on that YouTube channel, I have a whole YouTube playlist of how to navigate the State House website. So if you're looking for something specific, I encourage you to email Aisha Jones. And Katie can put Aisha's email in the chat so that we can get a training scheduled for you. And then sign up for newsletters. If you are already signing up for any of our WREN actions, you are going to get our WREN newsletter. Also, if you go to scwren.org, at the top of the screen, you'll see a sign up button. And if you click that and provide your name and email, you will be signed up for our newsletters in that same way. And then I've got a person who's ready to go even deeper in their advocacy journey in this. Any way that we can help besides signing petitions? Absolutely. I just wanted to give folks an entry-level position of being able to advocate. So the first way that you can, so I'm going to give a lovely scale of how to advocate because some people aren't on the same journey. So I'm going to start, petition is the easiest. Then the next thing that you can do is share WREN content, even making people aware of the fact that we're advocating for certain bills and getting them connected to us is another way that you're building out the access to community. And so as we share action alerts, more people are able to contact their legislators. So you sharing WREN content is advocacy. Then I'd say you making a relationship with your local official. So you reaching out specifically to your House rep or your senator related to an issue that really spoke to you is the next step of what you can do. We at WREN, as bills start to move, we'll make templates for you for the specific bills. But if you're interested in just trying to reach out in a general way, just reach out to Aisha and we will get you a template in that way. And then the next way is for you to start hosting things in your local community, having letter writing parties or postcard writing parties. You starting to build your local community up to do advocacy is such an incredible way to help and support. The more folks we can get across the state to be engaged and to do advocacy in any way that feels comfortable to them is incredible. And every WREN advocate could be building out this advocacy in your local community so that people don't have to travel to the State House to take action or to talk to legislators. And we're happy to talk to you about how to host any of those parties. So I just hope, Ashton, that resolved some of those initial things and got things percolating in your mind, but also Also, I'm just really super grateful that we have such a strong team at WREN and that you can contact Aisha for that information. All right, and then I've got another. Are there any specific representatives that are best to single out with a postcard writing campaigns for any of these particular bills? So as bills are moving, they are going to move through specific committees. So the first I would do is, if you're doing postcard writing campaigns, I always start with your local official. You check to make sure that they're not a sponsor. If they are a sponsor, I would love for you to actually say thank you, because it actually is a really heavy lift for any legislator to sponsor a bill. So say, Alex, you have Senator Tom Davis as one of your as your senator, and he sponsored both the child care bill and the doula and lactation support bill. I would say, have a letter writing party to say thank you to him, because saying thank you goes a long way, and he will stay committed to all of our priorities. Then, as we're working, you would look at which committees our bills are in, and we would be able to write postcards to members of that committee to ask them to have a hearing. So we'd start with the committee chair and then move our way out. And so if you're looking to have postcard writing campaigns for any of those particular bills, I'm going to have Katie and Aisha make a note now that we can make postcard writing campaign little toolkits, simple, easy, with the names of the committee members and the addresses and some simple talking points for y'all. And we'll get it emailed out to everybody who attended this webinar and put it up on our website. I'm really appreciative that through that question, we're able to figure out our next steps of what we as WREN need to do for you in the community. So I'm going to go through the chat one more time to make sure that I didn't miss any other questions. And I'm happy for anybody to keep posting stuff here. Let's see, lifted. Any advice? Well, I have a question from Sarah about doing advocacy and doing it safely. We don't currently have a group that meets to connect women, but again, I love that through this question and answer, we are actually building together what our community needs to build out advocacy. So I'm gonna, that would be something that Aisha and I could talk through about potentially even starting. I don't know if people still say use Facebook for private Facebook groups to connect people, because I do know that people do like that, but a lot of folks are moving away from Facebook and Meta. But again, advocacy looks a lot of different ways. And I do an advocacy 101 training, because advocating doesn't mean that you have to just advocate the legislature on a specific policy. This is a policy focused webinar, but you spreading any awareness about issues across our state, you spreading any awareness about events that WREN is doing, you just sharing in a small group of folks like your friend group, any information is advocacy. So I understand that safety issue, and so we can always do whatever feels right to you for advocacy. But again, you don't ever have to, I'm never as a WREN employee going to ever say that somebody has to speak out or use their name in any of these things, because I am very aware of the risk related to these issues. And there are very important ways that you can share information, share research that we put up. We have infographics on social media, just making more people aware, sharing news articles that are just even awareness about the issues that impact your life. And with a comment about, this is important, I hope everybody reads, is smaller ways for you to take action in your life. So I hope that is helpful. But again, Sarah, if you want to talk through any of these pieces, happy for you to reach out. And I have Aisha making a note about us thinking about how we can create groups to connect people. All right, I want to make sure that I don't miss any questions. And I have a lot of beautiful follow-up for us to do. I'm just so grateful that we were able to do it. I'm going to leave space just a little bit longer in the chat box. But again, I am so incredibly grateful for our WREN community. You are what makes our work actually happen. I'm grateful for everybody who's ever just even shared our content or attended a webinar or shared their voice by testifying or writing a letter or signing a petition. And also for those folks who've donated to WREN to make sure that we can continue to lead these advocacy campaigns. I will say that the number one way that you can help WREN continue our work is to become a monthly donor. And monthly donation doesn't have to be a huge ask. If you could give $10, $25, $50, $100 a month, you could be sustaining WREN's work for the long term. So I just want to say again, thank you so much. And I'm so excited for all the work that we're going to do in 2025. And I can't wait to do that work with you.